The Game Awards has faced major scrutiny over the past few weeks, primarily because a lot of people felt like there were very good games that released this year that ended up being completely snubbed. And while I personally was not surprised to see things like Hogwarts Legacy not make any lists, not be nominated for a single thing, now Geoff Keighley is doubling and tripling down on Dave the Diver's nomination for Best Indie Game, even though this game was published by one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. So I wanted to start off with this VGC tweet. Now, obviously, the Game Awards have been facing a little bit of scrutiny over the past few weeks, and that's probably not going to die down anytime soon, but now Geoff Keighley has weighed in on the debate over Dave the Diver qualifying for Best Indie Game, and he completely misses the point and tries his very best to defend Nexon and Dave the Diver. It says the game's nomination has sparked debate over what makes an indie game because despite having the conventional lo-fi appearance that some indie games have, its developer Mint Rocket is a small team within Nexon, a South Korean company that made $1.8 billion in revenue in 2021 alone. This company has over an $18 billion net worth. They are number 10 when it comes to the largest gaming publishers in the world, so they are definitely up there. They are able to put basically as much money into these projects as they want, and just because a game looks like it's on the lower budget side, or it's got pixel graphics, or it just overall feels more like an indie game, that does not mean that it is an indie game, and that does not mean that it should be nominated for Indie Game Awards. There are hard-working independent developers out there who put every cent that they have into a project, hoping and praying that it will get the recognition that it deserves, that it will get the attention that they really want it to get, but instead we have games made by billion-dollar companies being nominated, which is absurd. It says during a recent Q&A session on Twitch, Keighley was asked on his thoughts on Dave the Diver's nomination at the Game Awards, and the problem with this is that just a couple of weeks ago, he was saying how he wasn't going to give his take on any of the games that were being nominated, and he wasn't going to do that because it could sway people's opinions, but now he's doing it, and I know, for me personally, it just feels a little bit suspicious, like maybe the developers and the publisher were saying, hey, we're facing a lot of backlash, aren't you going to defend us? And Keighley was a little bit nervous. So he decided, what the heck, we might as well, we don't want to burn that bridge. But he answered that the definition of an indie game is hard to define and that ultimately it's up to the Game Awards jury to pick nominees. Yeah, well, maybe you need a jury that's filled with people who know the industry, because there is no way that the jury should be allowed to nominate a game being made by a billion-dollar company and a billion-dollar publisher. He said, look, it's a great question. Independent can mean different things to different people, and it's sort of a broad term. You can argue, does independent mean the budget of the game? Does independent mean where the source of financing was? Does it mean the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of the game, meaning a smaller game that's sort of different? All he is doing is trying to damage control and defend Nexon and this team like he has to, like his life depends on it. Okay, there is a very clear definition of what an indie game is and what it means. It says an indie game, short for independent video game, is a video game created by individuals or smaller development teams without the financial and technical support of a large game publisher, in contrast to most AAA games. Because of their independence and freedom to develop, indie games often focus on innovation, experimental gameplay, and taking risks not usually afforded to AAA games. That is the clear-cut definition of an indie game, and to put this title in this category is an insult to any indie developers out there, because this game is most likely going to win. And why is that going to happen? Because they had a large budget to throw at this game initially. They've been able to patch it and put a lot of people working on it since it, picked up in popularity. And it's a fun game. A lot of people have said, do not get me wrong, that's great that we have a fun game being nominated, but it just shows that not only do they have a group of people on this jury that are picking basically whatever they want to go into whatever category they want, because there's no way that this is an indie game, but it also shows that people like Geoff Keighley do not understand the industry, because there is no way that you would look at this and go, yep, this is an indie game in some way, shape, or form, because it is not at all whatsoever. And the Game Awards is getting absolutely annihilated for this. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar publisher. Geoff can keep doubling and tripling down, but it just shows how these people refuse to take the L, because this was a response to controversy that had just started. People are saying things like it's easier for people to defend an incorrect fact to the grave than to admit a mistake. If Geoff had actually wanted to do his job, he would have told the jury, you did a poor job here, this doesn't fall into the indie category, and they would have removed it and given that spot to another company and another indie developed game, but they didn't do that. People are saying things like Nexon is one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. Dave the Diver's a great game, but it basically took the nomination spot of a real indie game. Some people confuse 2D pixel art with indie. Yes, just because a game is not, a state-of-the-art, super beautiful, visually stunning title or something like that, or it doesn't have the most innovative gameplay, that does not mean that it is an indie title. It seems like the people on the jury were a little bit confused by that. No, Geoff, it means one thing, your jury fucked it, now you've got to switch it or fix it. I have already called out the jury many times over the past few weeks because of the Hogwarts Legacy controversy. The jury decided to not nominate Hogwarts Legacy in any category, and while I am not sitting here and saying that Hogwarts Legacy was definitely the best game of the year, because that is just my opinion, it at least deserved to be nominated. Even if it did not win Game of the Year, it should have taken some nomination spots, but they decided to completely ignore it, and that is because of the jury, because many people in this jury, many websites that make up this jury, decided not to cover Hogwarts Legacy at the beginning of the year because they wanted to distance themselves from J.K. Rowling's legacy, and they did not want to support her awful legacy in this franchise that she profits off of. It is very clear that Hogwarts Legacy got snubbed because of politics, and this is just another piece of proof that this jury is out of touch with the people that they are supposed to be, making content for, whether they are journalists or developers. It does not matter. They are out of touch with the gaming audience as a whole, because this does not fall into the category of an independent video game, and they are getting absolutely roasted over it and are still doubling and tripling down. Independent can mean different things to different people. Yeah, it is an actual word with an actual definition that isn't hard to understand. If you're a developer owned by a billion-dollar publisher who owns tons of games, that's a pretty far stretch from indie. People are saying things like a very PR answer, which unfortunately shits on real independent game developers. It is a sad situation to see, because at the Game Awards, it's a big event. They show world premieres, which I know they're getting rid of the world premiere card this year. We are going to be, it sounds like, getting the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer at the Game Awards. We get, updates on long-awaited titles. Like, it is a larger event in the gaming sphere, but when you have the jury basically putting any games they want to support in any category, and then no one is trying to right the wrongs of the jury, it just shows that the Game Awards is not going to survive for that much longer if they keep taking L after L, if they keep facing controversy after controversy. People are also saying things like independent can mean different things to different people. No, it really can't, and it really isn't a broad term. PR damage control at its finest. There are many people here who are saying things like, you guys need to remove Dave the Diver from this lineup. It's fine if it gets nominated in other categories, but definitely not the best indie game, which I completely agree with, because it is not an independent video game, and all they are doing is taking away an opportunity from a legitimately independently released game. It is unfortunate to see. We still do have about a week until the Game Awards finally happens, and I will be live streaming it because, again, we are supposed to be getting some really big trailers and releases at the event, most notably Grand Theft Auto 6. Also, it is speculated that we are going to get the official release date for the Elden Ring DLC, which should be on the game's 2nd anniversary. So a lot potentially happening this year. But not only did they face controversy over something like Hogwarts Legacy being completely snubbed, but now they are facing a big debate over what the definition of an indie game is. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.